In tonight's Fact or Fiction, we are looking into yet another claim about The Simpsons predicting a big news event. The story this time...
There's always talk about things The Simpsons have predicted that have come true, but what about things that still might come true?
Yeah, I think that's a lot scarier,
yes,
if you ask me. And we've got a lot for you, so let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, we're starting things off with a world-ending comet, or Springfield-ending comet. In the episode Bart's Comet, Bart is forced to join Principal Skinner on a very early star-watching excursion, and Bart just happens to spot a comet, which Bart phones into the local observatory, and moments later has already made the morning paper. Scientists soon learn that the comet is heading straight for Springfield, and after a rocket launched by Professor Frink fails to destroy the comet, blowing up the Springfield Bridge instead, all the town can do is wait for the inevitable. It's a great episode, hilarious, just like most of the episodes were around this time, but I do remember having this unsettling feeling watching it when I was younger. Like watching throughout the episode as this comet just gets closer and closer. It's a freaky thing to think about actually witnessing in real life, wondering how you deal with such an inevitability, wondering how you'd spend your last days on Earth as you watch utter doom slowly descending from the sky. Could we ever be in a situation where a giant space rock hurtles towards us to cause mass destruction and death? Possibly. Let's just hope things go like they did in The Simpsons and the thing just burns up in the atmosphere.
Alright, next on our list today we have the suppression of green energy. In Paths of Glory, episode 8 of season 27, Lisa invents a solar-powered car for the Alternative Energy Derby of Springfield. The race starts off great with Lisa pulling into the lead, but just as she's about to reach the finish line, the major beverage corporation, Duff, decides to block out the sun, rendering Lisa's solar-powered vehicle useless. A perfect example of large companies working hard to prohibit the production and rise in popularity of sustainable energy sources. Sound familiar? Think big oil, and think of the political parties whose campaigns are funded by big oil. Do you really think that they are okay with solar energy coming to the forefront and slashing their profit margins? I don't think so. And it's not just solar energy either, there is a war on sustainability as a whole. The people coming up with bioplastics and alternative fuel sources are a huge threat to these massive money-hoarding conglomerates, which really makes you wonder when you take into account that those on the forefront of sustainability breakthroughs generally tend to end up dead or behind bars. Coincidence or silenced? You tell me.
Life's a glitch, and then you die. It's the final segment of Season 11's Treehouse of Horror episode, and because this was 1999, it was a Y2K-centered story. Now, even though the story was referencing all these worries that are pretty ridiculous looking back, there are some things in this episode that very well could play out in real life. In the episode, it's New Year's Eve, and Springfield Nuclear Power Plant's Y2K compliance officer, Homer, has prepared for the new year by fixing every computer at the power plant, all except for his own computer, which then creates a virus that rapidly spreads to computers all over the world, causing total catastrophe. All technology goes completely haywire, communications get all messed up, so planes start to crash into each other, traffic lights start shooting lasers, even electronic home appliances go rogue, turning on their owners and begin attacking. And the whole town starts rioting and looting. It all culminates with the Simpsons learning of a manned rocket being sent to Mars with humanity's best and brightest to repopulate the species. Bart and Homer are not allowed on. Look, I'm not saying we'll ever be in a situation where we need to avoid being hit with lasers from traffic lights, but a mass computer virus spreading through the internet and causing a total shutdown and societal breakdown? That's definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
Next on our list today we have a major environmental disaster. In The Simpsons Movie, titled The Simpsons Movie, Springfield's local lake becomes so polluted that the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, or EPA if you're Abe, decide to imprison the town under a giant glass dome. Prior to the imprisonment of Springfield, the town had put out a warning to its citizens not to dump hazardous waste into the lake and to instead take it to a hazardous waste facility to be properly disposed of. Some people listened, but not everyone. Homer. And the final straw, of course, took place when Homer Simpson plowed through the barrier surrounding the lake to dump a silo full of pig shite. Immediately, the lake began to bubble and then turn green and then turn black, and then a squirrel fell in and immediately turned into a mutant. Some of the most polluted lakes in the world are loaded with hazardous radioactive waste, causing the waters to turn black or red. Not green, but close enough, and giving these waters the ability to kill you within an hour. With pollution in the world at an all-time high, it might not be so far-fetched to think that one day things will get so bad that the government becomes forced to isolate certain cities and towns from the rest of the world for their protection? Who knows? Kind of worrying, if you ask me.
How about the rise of VR leading to the downfall of the human race? Could we have a Ready Player One situation on our hands, or worse, in the near future? In the season 28 episode Friends and Family, which aired in 2016, God, season 28 came out in 2016. That is nuts. Anyway, Mr. Burns discovers the wonders of virtual reality after grabbing a pair of VR glasses from Professor Frink, who he accidentally runs over with his car. Most of the episode focuses on Mr. Burns hiring the Simpsons as his new family, minus Homer, but at the end we get a glimpse of the near future, with the entire town of Springfield using VR goggles. People are using them everywhere, walking into oncoming traffic, walking into street poles, an old lady falls down a well, or a manhole, that's the word for that. Homer and Marge are even using VR goggles in bed, getting frisky. In VR though, while laying right beside each other in real life doing absolutely nothing. It's all pretty silly, but it's also really not a stretch to imagine mass amounts of people getting addicted to VR, like spending the majority of their time in worlds they wished they lived in. I tried VR once, it was awesome. I didn't want to take those goggles off and be back sitting in my buddy's dingy living room again. I wanted to be back in the jungle with dinosaur robots.
Speaking of robots, next we have the robot revolution. And yes, I know we've talked about this one before, but I feel like it's so close to happening that it's worth mentioning again. In a bit more detail, that is. In season 23, episode 17, Them Robot, we see robots taking over the workforce and replacing all human employees at the Springfield nuclear power plant. Before that, episode 4 of season 6, Itchy and Scratchy Land, we see robots at an Itchy and Scratchy themed amusement park go rogue and kill everyone. It's no secret that the practice of outsourcing human jobs to automated machinery is on the rise. It started with robotics taking over assembly lines, factory work, and call centers, but it has since evolved into an uprising of robots working in healthcare, transportation, security, cleaning services, you name it. And recently, we've also seen an uprising in articles and artwork produced by robotic artificial intelligence as well. Talk about depriving the masses of a human touch. But of course, there's also the matter of the whole Itchy and Scratchy Land possibility, which has actually happened before and might just continue to happen if we aren't careful. In 2021, a Tesla engineer was attacked by an assembly robot. The machine grabbed the man and pressed him into a conveyor belt, causing severe chest injuries that later proved fatal. If that's not foreshadowing, I'm not sure what is. I mean, Elon Musk himself even said AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Maybe we should listen to the man condemning AI, who is also at the forefront of AI. It's all very scary to me.
And speaking of a robot revolution, let's talk about regenerative technology in the wrong hands. Not really connected at all. But, Alright, in the classic X-Files Simpsons crossover episode, the Springfield Files, Homer thinks he's discovered an alien in the woods. Spoiler alert, turns out to be Mr. Burns. Smithers explains that Mr. Burns receives an advanced longevity treatment once a week, which allows him to cheat death. The treatment also makes him look and sound like an alien for a short period of time. Now, Mr. Burns is cartoonishly evil and lovable in his own weird way, kinda, but he does represent a certain segment of the population, the 1%, the movers and shakers of the world who often operate based on their own greed, always putting themselves before others and making the world a worse place to live in the process. And the idea of those people receiving life-preserving booster injections on a weekly basis, keeping them in power longer and longer, that's not fun to think about. And who knows, maybe this type of treatment is already being used today.
Okay, so this next prediction doesn't necessarily come from any one particular episode, but really the series as a whole. Throughout The Simpsons, if you look hard enough, you can see a continuous theme of subliminal messages that allude to the breakdown of society, which makes sense when you take into consideration the fact that Matt Groening, the creator of the series, is a self-admitted anarchist who believes in the dismantlement of hierarchical government and advocates for organizing society on a voluntary and cooperative basis. Throughout the show, messages like "I blame the breakdown of society" and "I love the breakdown of society" can be heard and seen. If you were to take a good look at society right now, no matter who you are or what your views are, I guarantee you can spot at least a few good cracks. If you can't, you might be oblivious. I mean, every day it's looking more and more like society is on track for a global collapse. Am I hopeful that we can band together and work things out? Sure. Am I cautiously aware of the most likely outcome? Yes.
Next up, we have a sickness quickly spreading throughout the population through packages of juicers. The season 4 episode 21, Marge in Chains, is basically a Mother's Day episode, really. I mean, The Simpsons, as well as the entire town, come to realize just how big of an impact Marge really has on the town when she's suddenly out of the picture, locked up in jail. But there's also a subplot to the episode about a sickness that quickly spreads throughout Springfield. A new juicer is shipped from Osaka, Japan, but one of the packers has the flu, and his germs get distributed amongst the packages, leading to all of Springfield getting sick. The flu becomes known as the Osaka Flu. Could something worse happen in real life, though, with deadly germs being accidentally spread across the globe from a manufacturer with an ill worker? Possibly. I mean, it's in The Simpsons, so it will likely come true.
And finally, let's have some fun and dive into The Simpsons' prediction of an alien president. Honestly, maybe that's what the world needs. In episode 1 of season 8, Treehouse of Horror number 7, a presidential election takes place in Springfield, in which the two candidates, Kang and Kodos, are aliens. Do I think we're actually going to see this in real life anytime soon? No. But hey, in the future anything is possible. There are some things mentioned in the episode, however, that might happen sooner rather than later. When the town finds out that the candidates are in fact aliens, the idea of a third-party candidate taking office is raised, which is a bit more realistic. On the other, more dramatic hand, the idea of a foreign leader coming in, taking over a country and enslaving its people is also raised when the alien Kang wins the election and puts the people of Springfield to work, which has happened in real life before, but I'm really hoping doesn't happen again, but I guess only time will tell. I am cautiously optimistic. I buy it all.
You buy it all?
Yeah.
All right. Hannah buys it all. She believes it.
Yeah.
That theory you have about there being a real-life cancer cure that's just like not in the public to us.
100%. That
That's
exists.
a creepy idea.
That exists. I think so.
I don't like that. I was thinking about that last night. I was like, I don't like that. That's
These are the things that keep James up at night.
yeah. No, I haven't slept in days. All right. Thank you all for watching very much. We appreciate and love the hell out of you. And we'll
Yes,
catch you in the
we
next
do.
video.